Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Dan Lawrence. I am a faculty member in the Department of Writing, Language, and Literature at the University of Wisconsin-Superior, and this is Writing 309 Technical Writing. And I'm very happy you're here. I love teaching this course. It's a course of my own design. That's part of the reason why I was hired at UW Superior was to design and teach a technical writing course among other things, but this is one of my specialty areas. My PhD is in rhetoric and technical communication with a specialization in digital media theory. So, you're in good hands. You have someone with a PhD in rhetoric and technical communication teaching you about technical writing. That's off to a good start, right? Um, so maybe the first thing to say is, what is this video? This video is just a really broad overview and welcome and introduction to the class. I will talk about what the course is very briefly, very briefly. I'll talk about the major assignments and where your points are coming from, and a little bit about the textbook, and just very kind of broad welcome and overview to the course, just to get you kind of settled in and so you know what you're doing here. So, what is technical writing? I mean, very, very broadly, it's a field of study and it's a career path. So, lots of companies and organizations hire technical writers, technical editors, technical communicators to create documents, both for the public and for internal purposes. So, sometimes it's, to communicate something from an engineering team to an executive team. That would be an internal document at a company if it's going from one department to another department, say, for example. Or, in public facing communication, you come across technical writing all the time in your daily life. Imagine you buy a new piece of furniture or, a product from Amazon or IKEA. Let's imagine a piece of furniture. Many of you have done this. You buy a piece of furniture from Amazon and you have to assemble it, and it has hundreds of pieces, and all the little hardware and screws are labeled A through Z, and there's 45 different pieces, and it's kind of overwhelming and a frustrating process. But there's usually a instruction, set of instructions in there, and a technical writer wrote those instructions. And maybe the funny thing is, we probably come across more examples of bad technical writing in our daily lives than we come across examples of good technical writing. And you probably know this. You've put together some new product or some piece of furniture like we're talking about here, and it's frustrating because the graphics are really unclear, and maybe there's typos and grammatical mistakes and poorly labeled pieces, and it just it can be really frustrating. So that's why we have a class like this, because the world needs more and better technical writers. It's a growing career path, and it's one of the more lucrative things that writers can do. I'm always I'm interested in it, and I care very much about what our writing majors and writing minors do after they graduate, and technical writing is one of the great things you can do to make a good living and live a good life as a writer. It's not the only lucrative career path as a writer. There's all kinds of marketing, communications, technical writing. You could branch off into other corporate pathways or go into nonprofit work or government work. But to stay on topic here, technical writing is one of the higher paying career paths that you can get into. So technical writing is both a career path. It's something that happens in professional places, at companies, and in various government departments and organizations and nonprofits. And it's also a field of study. There are people who think about and theorize about and write about the best practices, the theory of technical writing. And so that's what technical writing looks like. That's what you see it all the time in your daily life, in instructions, in manuals, in documentation about complex scientific ideas and objects and mechanicals. So it's all over and all around us, and we're going to be looking at in this class some of the fundamentals of the genres of technical writing. So some of the common genres like instructions, like manuals, like user guides, and then also the principles, the theories that underlie all of that. So, the ethics of technical writing, the processes that we should engage in when we write technical documents. So that's what this course is. Let's really broadly, let's look at the schedule a little bit. So, if you like, as while I walk through this, you could pull up the syllabus, which is in Canvas. I'll just kind of talk through the major assignments here and talk through some of the major things we're going to be doing. So let's start with points. There are 560 possible points in the class. There are 3 major projects. That's the user guide, the audience-specific documentation, and the technical writer's resume. And so at any time you go into Canvas, you can look at the left-hand navigation menu, you can click on assignments, and you can read those assignment descriptions. And you should do that early on in the class so you know what those major projects are, and you can kind of be thinking about, what you want to write about here for these assignments, kind of get that in the back of your head. So that's 250 points. It's 100 points for the user guide, 100 points for the audience-specific documentation project, and 50 points for the technical writer's resume. Then there are 14 discussion board posts worth 140 points. And I've tried to design these so that they're pretty engaged. You're often going to be seeking out an example of technical writing and analyzing it, like analyzing a document. Or you might be practicing writing some instructions for your weekly discussion board post. So do pay attention to those. They're not just, throwaway junk discussion board posts. They're pretty engaged, and there's a prompt for each week that's related to the reading, and it's all integrated to help you think about concepts in technical writing. So it's not just like, throwaway kind of stuff. It's highly related to the course content. So pay attention to those. 140 points for the discussion board posts. There's 3 short reading quizzes related to dedicated parts of the textbook. That's 40 points. One is 10, another is 10, and then one of them is 20 points. So there's 40 points for 3 short reading quizzes. And then if you're in the 001 section of the class, there are points for attendance. If you're in the E1 online section of the class, there's no requirement for attendance because it's an asynchronous online course. And that's the total breakdown there. So I should clarify there. If you're in the online section, there's a total of 430 points in the course. If you're in the 001 section, there's a total of 560. That's all in the syllabus. If there's any confusion there, reference the assignment and grading section of the syllabus. That's just to give you a very broad overview of the total points, and there's a grading breakdown there and lots of information for you in the syllabus. Okay, so now let's talk about what's the structure of the course. It's all laid out in Canvas on a week-by-week basis, so you just move through those week-by-week modules. And at the end of the syllabus, there's a schedule, which is also going to have your readings in there. So the textbook we're using is a free open access. It's called an OER, an open educational resource. It's a pretty good textbook. I vetted it. I read through it. This is my first time using it now, but I think you're going to like it. It's well written for the most part. It's interesting, engaging, and well organized. And each week you'll read some chapter or section of that textbook. Chapter 2 is really long, so I've broken that out into a couple chunks. And when we get to chapter 4, that's kind of long too, so I've broken that down into 2 chunks. But you'll see that's all laid out in the schedule is what I'm trying to say. So for example, week 1, read the syllabus, get familiar with the textbook. You can start reading chapter 1 if you like, and then there's a weekly discussion board for week 1. Week 2, I'm looking at the schedule at the end of the syllabus, the course schedule. Week 2, read chapter 1, read the supplemental readings, complete the week 2 discussion board, and then complete the short reading quiz about chapter 1. For week 3, read chapter 2.1 and 2.13, read the supplements, complete the discussion board. Week 4, read chapter 2.2, 2. And 2.6, read the supplements, complete the discussion board, and so on. So I think that's all laid out pretty clearly there in the schedule at the end of the syllabus. And then each week in Canvas has an overview as well, which you can look at to see what we're doing each week. And that's roughly it, right? So you read some of the textbook, you read the supplemental reading. Often it's a sample or an example of what we're reading about. You complete the discussion board for that week. If there's a quiz, you complete the reading quiz. And then there's those 3 major assignments. There's the user guide, the audience-specific documentation, and then the technical writer's resume. And that makes up all the point totals for the course. And when you submit your work, you'll get feedback from me on those major projects. You'll get very detailed feedback from me so that you can improve your writing in the future. And that's what we're doing. So I'll try to cut myself off here so I don't go on for too long, but welcome to the course. I'm glad you're here. You can reach me at any time by emailing me, and I hope you enjoy it. I don't think that technical writing doesn't have to be as ominous and complex as it sounds. It should actually be quite fun. It's highly parameterized. You're exercising your creative abilities within specific parameters. Here's a specific genre. Here are the expectations of that genre. And then you have to use your creative powers with language to find, specific, accurate, concrete language that's going to fit into those parameters. And then you'll use a lot of visual and design skills as well to lay out that language in a way that's compelling and highly readable and well organized. So it's a very creative discipline in many ways, even though it's dealing with complex technical scientific subjects, generally speaking. The actual processes of developing technical documents is very creative and rewarding. So that's it. Welcome to the course. Glad to have you here. Read through the syllabus, get familiar with that PDF textbook that's free. It's available in Canvas. Look at the schedule, kind of get familiar with the weekly schedule, and we'll move ahead in this week by week by week pattern. Reading, discussion board, 3 major projects, there's 3 short quizzes, and we'll get to the end doing it that way. So thanks everybody. Nice to meet you.